Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Doggin. What's up, Melina?
What's up, buddy? This is gonna be a fun episode, and I'm not sure where it's gonna go or how it's gonna go, but we're gonna give it a swing, and we're gonna have a good time. How are you, Joe?
I'm good, but hopefully my internet holds out. I'm out here in Alexandria, Virginia, and I'm on hotel internet. So you're already freezing up a couple times on me, but I'm really excited for this show today. I was following all weekend the Bob Stocks Memorial Tournament. Uh, being from this area, I don't ever remember a field like this coming to Washington D.C. area to play in a tournament, and it was just a monster field. A lot of stars and a lot of upsets, and so I'm really excited to dig into that tournament with you.
No, without a doubt, I'm excited as well. There's so much to talk about, but we're gonna lead off with the guy who ended up snapping off the event. We're just gonna go ahead and bring him on in, uh, Mr. BJ Ussery. BJ, how are you, buddy? Oh, perfect. Okay, so we're already coming in real
Oh
good
no!
when it comes to the technology. As soon as you bring him in, his internet takes a dive. So his internet was a little shaky to say the least. Whenever we've been troubleshooting for the last few minutes, but we're gonna give it one more
Give it a
chance
second.
with BJ. He's gonna refresh, and we're gonna get him on. But there's a lot to talk about, Joey. Good
Well,
news. BJ stepping
BJ
off.
is BJ is a man of few words. Like he doesn't say a whole lot. I'm just kidding.
Well, you know what's funny is that whenever we were doing in the background before we went live, Joey's saying congratulations, all this stuff, and BJ's like, "Oh, thanks, man," being humble and all this. And I said, "Hey, save it for the show." Little did I know that might have been all that we can get out of this whole conversation. So, anyway, he's gonna refresh, and we're gonna see if we can get him back on here in just a second,
Uh,
which I think we might have. BJ, can you hear us, buddy?
Hold on.
Let's see. We're trying here. I think he might be adjusting his audio settings once again. Let's see if we can get it working. It never a dull moment on the Doggin It Show.
We're always dogging
But
it.
yeah, Joe, it
Always
was
dogging
a great event, Moscone Cup ranking event. Lots of guys were making moves, including BJ and Lucas, which we're going to get into. Tons of upsets from the beginning, which we're going to talk about as well, and then a little bit of drama leading into that last day, which we're going to go on and address and talk about also. So I'm excited. Let's see if we can get BJ. It doesn't look too promising with his audio. I'm going to send him off to the back here,
Can
and
you
then we're
hear
going to
us,
see.
BJ? No. Okay.
No, all right. Let's try it again.
The BJ about a year ago. Let's see. No,
I'm
no.
gonna text him. I'm gonna text him
Bringing
and
him
see
in
if
or
he
no?
can just refresh. Go ahead, Joey.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I talked to him about a year ago. I was gonna have him on Pool Player Podcast and do the full hour long video because he's exactly the type of player, a great regional talent that's capable of beating anybody. And if you went out to
For sure.
California, Colorado, wherever, a lot of people might not have heard of him. But if you're in
Well,
the
from a
Carolinas, if
guy
you're
who likes to gamble, Joe, like myself, I like a guy like BJ because he's a little bit under the radar, but he can play pretty jam up with the best of them when it comes to rotation. He's not the vogue name that you're going to hear about. But he's a guy, especially if you're handicapping by the game. I mean, listen, obviously the guy can win outright because he just won a tournament with a lot of big names, right? But from a
Mhm.
handicapping standpoint, I love getting a guy like BJ, with some games on the wire because he can play and he can play whatever game you want to play.
Not only that, the guy's a grinder. How many of those matches from this weekend was he down in those matches and came back? It was really uncanny. Let's see if we
BJ,
got
can
him.
you hear us? Yo, that's not looking too good here, boys. Lenny Richards says we're dogging it already. We might be. I'm gonna see if maybe we can just follow up with BJ another time here, Joe.
Yeah, I think that's best right now. I think we need to call it. We have a hard time connecting with him next time. Maybe we record a live show as a recording. Um, yeah. So, uh, yes to crypto. I don't know what that is. It looks like he gave us a super chat, which is awesome. Thank you. Appreciate
Let's
that.
see.
One of our
Let's
One
see.
of our
Let's see.
followers.
Let's
One more time.
Let's see.
Let's see. Oh, last chance.
Y'all hear me?
BJ, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well,
Well, I can hear you, but there's a bit of an echo now.
Is there? Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
try
refreshing
refreshing one more time, BJ.
Is that better?
Check.
It's not too bad. Negative.
It's echo.
It's not
Joey,
better.
are you hearing the echo?
It's echo. Are you here?
Yeah.
We're dogging it.
Yeah, this is already a fun start. The first 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Melissa's saying that my feed's cutting in and out too. Great. Now, what are you gonna do?
BJ, can you hear us, buddy? Yeah, boy, this is just Okay, we're just gonna try this another time when it comes to BJ. We'll try recording something later on in the week, and then we'll
Hey,
get
Mike,
him on.
shoot him a message. Shoot him a message and we'll out. That walking around with us.
Yeah, for sure. But you're right, man. There was I was getting a lot of updates over the weekend because I was out of town as well, and one of them was just the comebacks that BJ was making that were pretty remarkable, right, and pretty inspiring. Joe, I think it was like 10-4 down in the quarterfinal, or no, 8-4 down in the quarterfinals. He comes back to win Hill. And then 10-3 down in the finals. And someone was saying that he was also down the match before, down 7-0, going to 9, and comes back and wins that match as well. So BJ just gave me the thumbs up. So we'll try again in another day and get a recording and bring him on to you guys. But what a big win for him, Joe. $8,000 puts him right in the hunt when it comes to Mosconi Cup standings. Joey, are you alive? Are you with me? Joey cut out as well. Boy, Panozzo, you got the link, buddy? I need you to come on in because it looks like I might be riding by myself here for a minute. We're gonna send Joey to the back now. This is this is pretty fun. Madison says down 0-7 against Thomas House. You know what? I got a lot of messages about Thomas this morning as well, about what a strong showing that this young man had. I'll be honest with you, I hadn't heard the name, but I'm understanding that he's quite the player. Joey seems to have gotten out of here. Maybe he'll be refreshing. Maybe Pinoza will be my lifeline here. If not, then I'm just going to be riding here by myself, and we're just going to jump on to the second half of the guests that we got scheduled on for today. So Joey's out on the East Coast, and he's having a good time hanging out with his family. I think he's got some work stuff going on as well. Let's see if Joey comes on. But I'm curious, well, you guys in the chat, we appreciate everyone who coming in. Let us know what your thoughts were on the event this past weekend. There was a lot of talking points. A guy like Lucas going as deep as he did, taking down Federer on his path to getting into the final, up 10-3 in the final on BJ. BJ was just not to be denied. We got my man Mike is saving the day. Yes, Mike, how are you, buddy?
All right.
Well, let me see if we can bring in Joe. Joey, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I had to bring in the reserves, man. I needed some backup here.
I saw Mike go to the lefty for the bullpen.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so I was trying to switch over to my phone internet, thinking that might be better, because I'm kind of in and out here at the hotel, which sucks, man. I mean, I pay good money for this hotel. But I digress. The last thing I saw was Pinozzo's comment, like, man, it's a shame. I wanted to hear from BJ. I did too.
Yeah.
I mean, what a performance.
Yeah, amazing run.
I don't really remember, we know that BJ can play. He's a great player, but I don't really recall as big, I think.
Joey, your internet may be taking a dive as well, buddy, because it seems to he was
at a roller for a little bit.
As you're pontificating there, you froze up on us.
But you know what I mean?
Joe?
Like, would you have taken him first, second, third to win the tournament? Probably not. He would have been one of those guys that you hopefully would have got a deal on in the Calcutta and thought, hey, maybe if he really gets on a roll, he can go deep. But to win that tournament with Federer Gorst and Tyler Steyer, Oscar Dominguez, I mean, that's quite a feat.
Beating a lot of those guys too outright, and I think he would have been somewhere in that 6 through 10 range when it comes to Calcutta picks, more than likely, just because you had a few vogue names on there. But certainly a guy with value, a ton of upside when it comes to Calcutta. I think they had over 18,000 total, which we'll get some hard numbers here later on in the show. But yeah, solid win for him. Like I said, puts him right in the hunt when it comes to Mosconi Cup on the American side. And Mike sent me a message earlier this morning, I think it was, saying, is he this year's Greg Hogue? Which I thought was a pretty interesting comparison, Mike.
Well, it's one of the things interesting too. One, did he buy himself into Calcutta or a piece of himself, and two, is this going to make him play more than he probably would have had he not won? Does he have any aspiration to see how he could do by getting into a couple more tournaments? Because if he's kind of one and done with this, then it's it's kind of moot, right?
Well, I think that's always been the talking point when it comes to BJ, is that he's more of just that regional talent, and kind of stays, in that area, kind of close to home on the East Coast. Maybe he'll go down to Florida every now and then, but outside of that area, he really doesn't seem to get out a whole hell of a lot. With having more ranking events popping up, it seems like by the hour, there's certainly going to be more opportunity. And if nothing else, listen, you're already in prime position just because of the dollar amounts for the Americans, to really kind of, I don't want to say put your feet up a little bit, but I mean, he's a little comfortable right now.
And even if he doesn't get out, I wouldn't say it's moot, because you still have the wild card picks. And, if you look at the options that the United States has for wild card picks, a player that can snap off an event like that has to be in consideration for a wild card pick, I would think.
Well, I don't know. It depends. It depends on who gets the point.
I think you need more sample size for a wild card. I mean, you're going to have to kind of get, you got to figure Shane's pretty good, going to be, in that top three. The same thing with Sky. So you're really only vying, in my mind, for one of the three automatics, right? So like if he doesn't travel a whole lot, I would want to see more of a resume over the course of, let's say, the next, 5 months, to kind of anchor a spot. It's a great win, and it's certainly his best foot forward, but at the same time, there's still a lot to be done, and it's far from being locked up. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, he shows a penchant for coming from far behind, like down 10-3, 7-0, things like that. That's not going to get the job done in a race to 5 Mosconi Cup.
That's one of the questions I wanted to ask him, Penoso. Is like unbelievable feat coming back from some of these matches. Why were you so slow getting started?
Yeah, you're not going to make a living doing that.
No, yeah. But I think it also shows what he's made of. Which those intangibles that you look for from a coach, those are things that I would pay attention to. What kind of heart that a player has, what his grind is like. Whether or not he gives up or he doesn't. Because I've seen top players, give up when they're in a deep hole. Right? We've talked about body language quite a bit when it comes to some of these big boys, not just Americans, but especially Americans when they're in a hole, right? And just the way that they can kind of ship it when they know that they're stuck quite a bit and there's a tall mountain to climb. I feel like with the inconsistencies in this break, it's really surprising to see him come back. And that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask him is, how did you do it? What was it that were able to get you some momentum? And from what I understood, boys, not only did he come back in those first 2 matches leading up to the finals, but I heard that when he was down 10-3, he makes it 10-10, and then a fire alarm was pulled or something like that. completely put the guy on ice. Completely put the guy on ice. I think I heard. I'm hearing the second hand, but I heard it was a little girl, right. And evidently she had some money on Lucas, and that's the reason why. That's the reason why she pulled the fire alarm.
You can't make some of this stuff up in pool, can you? I mean, it's just like things happen, and it's like wild. It's crazy.
When a 3-year-old looks at her parents and says, "I got to go put this guy on ice," and go yanks an alarm. That's
what's beautiful is like, hey, listen, if that's my girl, I'm saying, hey, babe, go pull it. Because there ain't nobody gonna get mad at you. They're gonna give me a second look, but it's just the kid being cute.
Yeah.
So.
But, Rick Glasscock brought up a good point in the chat. That is that there's going to be another ranking event at Wolf's Den, which is in, I think, Roanoke or somewhere out in Virginia. And, that's another event that BJ will likely attend. So he's going to have a chance to earn points at that event. I'm sure.
Assuming he played the U.S. Open.
Yeah. He'll play the U.S. Open. He'll play some other events. And now with this win, this might motivate him to play in even more events.
That's what I was curious about.
Yeah, I'm sure that there'll probably be some sponsors that'll take notice when they see the player list and that he came out on top in this. And
well,
so
I heard he's got a full-time job, right? What does he do? Do you know?
I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, he looks like a worker, like when you watch him play pool, it's a very workmanlike effort every time. And he doesn't give up, obviously, because you saw some of those scores, but he was just always one of the toughest players to deal with. When I was in Maryland and he'd come up and play in the events there, every player was like, I don't want to draw that guy, because that guy is going to give you everything he has over the course of a race to 9, race to 7, whatever it is. And so I'm happy for the guy. It's a great win. It seemed like it was a great event. I know there was a few things that were going on. We're going to get to that.
With that,
but, yeah.
With that level of player to come back match after match after match, it's like to do it once, okay, good. You did good, but to do that 3 times in a row is pretty special, and then to top it off with doing that in the final, and this isn't just like the weekly, on the East Coast. This is,
right.
This was something that was promoted and positioned to be something pretty decent starting off the year here in the States, as far as getting guys on the map. And it's really, this is what Matchroom is hoping for, right? To have opportunities like this for Americans who may not get a chance otherwise, but to really kind of get their foot in the door when it comes to rankings, especially when it comes to how wide open it is for on the U.S. side. So congratulations to BJ. Congratulations to Lucas for that matter. And I wanted to get your guys' thoughts. We're going to try to have him on, but I remember saying this a couple months ago where I thought this kid's coming. And it just seems like every time that I watch this kid play, or if I'm following him on a scoreboard, I just see him making moves, man, making moves, taking down names. And this was also quite an event for him as well.
What did he get for second place money?
I'm not sure. I'd guess probably around, if first place was 8, I would guess around 5 would be my guess. I'm not too sure though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but still solid.
It puts him in the equation a little bit. And he is a kid who's playing in a lot of events.
Yeah. Well, you would think so, right?
Right.
Yeah. But he's still wet behind the ears. I think he's like 21 years old, right? I know I saw him at the Derby, but he's young. He seems to have the world of talent, man. And, to get up like he did, he took down Federer along the way. What's that, Joe?
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, like you mentioned Lucas and how you thought he was going to have a big year before he plays De Leon and loses a money match to De Leon, lost 2 sets, I think, to De Leon. And it kind of reminds me of this weekend when I gave you my prediction for a sleeper in this event. It was not BJ Ussery.
Joey messages me late Friday night, whenever the event starts. Joey messages me that night, and he says, "I can't believe some of these names in the Calcutta. What they went for." And I was like, "No, it's a Calcutta, man. What are you gonna do?" He says, "Man, that Max Eberle was a steal. I fired 500 on him quick." And then the Joey curse was lifted on poor old Max, and the guy loses the very first round. This is one of the upsets that we were talking about, but loses the very first round to Priscilla Kingsley. I might be mispronouncing that name, but that was just one of many upsets over the course of this weekend, boys.
Yeah. So she was a 542 Fargo, I think, or somewhere in that range. And, I'm going to get on my soapbox. One of the things I loved about this weekend, especially living out in Arizona, everything is by Fargo rate. If they see 2 people match up, the higher Fargo rate's always going to win. Like Fargo rates don't enter high Fargo rate tournaments, because if I do, there's no way I can win a match. And I always tell them on the table, and they're just because somebody's rated higher does not weekend prove that. When you look at the results from this weekend, like the matches were played on the table, and there were a lot of upsets and big upsets. I mean, if you look at Federer, what's he, an 830 now or something? For him not to win the tournament is an upset in and of itself, and then he loses to Lucas.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like 100 Fargo point difference. So, that just goes to show the matches played on the table.
But I think that's 9-ball though, man.
No, that's competition, Mike. That's competition. That's UNLV losing to Duke when I was in 10th grade. I mean, it happens. So for me, I love seeing this. I love seeing the fact that the chalk doesn't always win. Not that, I love Federer. He's great. He's a great guy, comes on the show all the time, but I love that he didn't win this tournament because it really shows that if you go out there and you play your hardest and you're a 730, 740, 750 Fargo, you can beat the big dogs.
Yeah, I think this is why, like, for some of these guys who may be a little bit more, mentally weak, I feel like Fargo is just more of an excuse for my money. Where these guys who are just tough as nails, this is part of why, like last year, that clip that we had of Greg knocking Fargo, he was like, I don't believe in Fargo, and I kind of like that. I want my guys to be like, yo, I don't give a shit about it. I'm gonna go out there and compete and give them hell, and I can dance with anyone. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned 100-point difference, but when you're playing these relatively short races, right, in that 7 to 9 range, any of these guys who get an open layout and get a decent break, right, they're gonna have a shot, kind of like a puncher's chance, and Lucas showed that.
Yeah. Well, Mike, what do you say we transition?
Do you see that comment by Jeremy? I want to get your thoughts on it, Joe.
Well, I mean, I guess the insinuation there is that maybe Fargo's not 100% accurate when you're looking at certain players. And I mean, you can make that argument for, especially when you look at the players that don't really play as much anymore, like Rodney Morris or Johnny Archer. Those guys are probably overrated when it comes to Fargo rate. And the young players like Lucas or Nick DeLeon, the guys that are just breaking on the scene, are capable of playing a lot better than what their number says at any given time. BJ obviously is capable of playing better than his number says. So I mean, there's a point to that. But I think my point was too many players play the match by looking at the stats and saying, I'm the underdog here. And then they play like the underdog. You got to throw that out the window. You got to play as best you can. You almost have to trick yourself. Tell yourself you're the favorite going into the match, even if you're the underdog. If Lucas doesn't tell himself that going into that match, he doesn't win that match against Federer. So, I mean, you got to believe in yourself.
I want to get Lucas on the show because I don't think these top guys are going and telling themselves anything. I think they believe they belong. They believe they can compete. And I don't even think it's a matter of just trying to convince themselves, like, mentally. I think that they know that in this environment, especially, I mean, this is like, in his backyard, so to speak, he's as comfortable as anyone, playing on a diamond under those conditions. I think it's wide open.
He believed he could win. If he didn't believe he could win, he wouldn't have won.
Shocking, Joe. The guy who won the match believes he can win.
Right?
I mean,
Look, I'm saying it, from playing against great players and being in matches and winning upsets and losing to people that upset me. I'm telling you have to believe you can win. And too many players, even great players, there's some great players out there that go into matches not believing they're going to win. They don't win. So hats off to BJ, hats off to Lucas. Amazing performances this weekend. I'm really sad we couldn't get them on tonight.
If you were going to pick one of those two guys to make the Mosconi Cup, and I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but
way ahead.
Just for the sake of conversation, if you were going to pick one of those two guys to make the Mosconi Cup this year, who would it be and why?
BJ, 1,000% BJ. Experience. The guy has just been around the block. He's played a ton of pool. Like we said about Lucas, he's young. He's probably got a higher ceiling, but you're not exactly sure how he's going to deal with that pressure and that heat. BJ gambles. BJ plays
Lucas gambles. Lucas gambles.
Well, I'm just saying. I like BJ.
What about you, Mike?
I would say the same thing. I think it might be different if your team was a heavy favorite, then you could gamble a little bit on let's get some youth in there and get them used to the situation. But
when it comes to an experience standpoint on that stage, they're both at 0-0, boys. Yeah, right. They're both level.
I'm going to go the guy who I think is the better player.
And you think it's BJ?
That is?
In guessing in that situation.
Before the event, I would have said Lucas. Now, I flipped the coin for me. But anyway, that's kind of a sellout answer. Anyway, let's transition, Joe.
What a chump you are.
Well, listen, we're going to have them on, both of them, at some point this week. We'll be glad to talk about it.
I think
more.
BJ would make a great interview for Billiards Digest, Panozzo. Just saying. But
just make sure he's got good internet, Mike. That's the key.
We can work out.
Yeah. Panozzo does the interviews with the notebook and the pencil. He'll be fine. It'll work out well. No, but look, one of the things, there's been a lot of chatter online today about the event. Some of it good, some of it bad. And one of the things that I wanted to do, I wanted to reach out to the tournament director, Chris Wilburn. I wanted to get him on the show, and I wanted to hear firsthand about some of the things that went down, both the good, the things that were mistakes or whatever, and just have him explain what happened. So that way we could kind of get his take on things, and then people could make their own judgment. Because I think a lot of times, something goes out, hey, something went wrong with the draw, and everybody assumes that it's, somebody trying to pull some funny business, and sometimes it's not that way. So I asked Chris Wilburn to join us today, and he's here with us. Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. So, hey, you pretty happy with how the event turned out?
A couple hiccups here and there, nothing too bad, but overall, I mean, it was one heck of an experience to watch some of the best players and the strongest field in this area that ever existed. I mean, being a pool player myself, having all these players come in and just being able to watch a lot of that pool was just an experience in itself. So, yeah, it was great.
Take us through the background of the event, Chris. I know it was a memorial tournament, and that kind of got overshadowed by being a ranking event. But to you guys who are local, tell us about Bob and what he means to the area, if you can.
Personally, I don't know Bob. I've never met the man. He died before I started playing pool almost 17 years ago. The event's been running for that long. I never met him, never knew anything. When I finally started getting into pool tournaments, that's when I started playing in it, and I started playing in a lot of local stuff. And unfortunately, because I don't want to speak on behalf of someone that I know nothing about.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, and I just like, okay, this is what it is, and this is what I'm going to do. And I tried to make the best for Anthony, the owner of First Break Sports Bar. He asked me to try to do something with the event because I've been running my own tour for over 4 to 5 years. He's like, just take it, go with it. So I happened to get it associated with Matchroom, and there it is.
How did that come about, that relationship or getting that event sanctioned for a Matchroom ranking event, Chris?
I am a very persistent person. If I want something, I will go to the ends of the earth to get it. And I reached out to Matchroom on website late September, early October, and I just every week email, hey, is there an update? Hey, there's an update. Am I approved? What's going on? December 19th, right before Christmas, I get the approval. Yeah, you're a Matchroom points event. And the fun began. I had to spend 3 months getting everything organized. What a process.
Chris, let me go back to the memorial aspect of the event. There was some chatter online about how there really wasn't a lot mentioned about Bob Stocks. And, there were some players that were a little upset by that, especially players who had a good relationship with him.
Yes, of course.
Was that the case? Was there a chance for, Bob to be remembered through this event?
Unfortunately, from my standpoint, where I was as the director of the event, again, I knew nothing of the guy. I did go to the county transmission shop. He actually owned a repair shop out in Vienna. I went out there, met the current staff. I tried to find his obituary to find some more about him. In this shop on the side, there's a quote that he used to say. I put that's on the banner and in the pamphlet. I try to do as much as I can, but as the fact that I don't know a guy, I don't want to say anything wrong and really disrespect or dishonor what the event is. So I chose not to say anything at all regarding Bob Stocks. But there was a lot of stuff there that had a lot of his stuff on it. Again, his quote and who he was and what he did. But other than that, again, I don't want to speak negatively or incorrectly of someone. So I chose not to say anything.
Well, sometimes less is more, and I can respect that approach for sure. And that was something that was promoted throughout. Was his name alongside it, and it's great that even after all these years, his legacy lives on. And what an event it was, right from the very beginning. You guys had a pretty stacked player field leading into it. I think like around 19,000 in the Calcutta, an $8,000 first place. What was something that you were proud of about the event and some of the things that you took away personally?
Personally, I finally realized, because I ran my own tour, points and all that. I did all that myself. But getting to that stage, I mean, people do state events. I've done semi-pro events. But when you get to the world stage, it's a whole different ball game. The contracts that you have to sign, that Matchroom said, these are the rules you have to do. This is what needs to be done. This is what we expect. So to stick to the guidelines that they said, this is what you have to do. And I heard through the grapevine, whether it be true or not, I don't know, but there were fines sent out to some of the other directors who ran Matchroom Points associated events, and they got penalized for whatever the reason may be. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to make sure I'm sticking by the rules as best as I can. And were mistakes made? Yeah, I'm human. And this is the first ever points event that I've ever ran of this caliber. I ran a little amateur tour for a long time. So I'm going to make mistakes. People were lenient with me, and I'm very thankful for those. Some people gave me great advice. Donnie Mills gave me some great advice about some other events. Tommy Talkinoff, if I got his name right, gave me some pointers.
You dogged his last name for sure.
Yeah, that was not even close.
That wasn't even close. Yeah, that wasn't even close to Tommy's last name.
He knows who he is. He knows who he is. But
Donnie Mills gave you great advice about where to get a cheap dinner, something like that.
Not quite.
Donnie's pretty vocal, I hear. Yeah.
Again, this is the first ever World Points event in our area ever. Biggest one. So a lot of people, it's not like Matchroom sent me refs and said, here you go, we got them. I had to get my own refs and train them to the best of my ability of the events I played in. And I played in a lot of big events, US Open, Derby City, Turning Stone. I played in Geeky. I played in everything I can get my hands on, but I only have so much experience. I've never been to a world event before. So it's like I've got little to work with here. And from the rules that they sent me, I tried to do the best I could. And the way the refs were racking the ball, some of them kept putting that 2 ball in the back, and it's supposed to be random. Donnie was like, oh, just put the balls up, rest them against the foot rail, and just start from the outside, grab the last 2 balls, and just work your way in, and then it's always random. I'm like, that's brilliant. I never thought of that.
Mike, you got anything?
No, I think it's interesting. It's an interesting conversation to talk to someone who's, put on tournaments but didn't have anything to this caliber before, and just having all those high-powered players in there and having to, keep an eye out and make sure everything's running smoothly. I know there are a couple little hiccups with the digital pool, the bracket. I know that's not on you, but take me through a little bit of what you experienced during that.
So my tour, when I ran it for 4 years, I used a system called Challenge, but it was pure double elimination. I never did multi-stage. So my experience going into multi-stage stuff was nothing. So I played in stuff that has it, but running it, I have zero. So I was really dependent on Digital Pool. And I had Zach helping me, and of course Isaac of Digital Pool helping me. And I clicked the wrong button. There's a button there that says schedule matches. And the matches that were scheduled were the top 16 for day 2. Instead of moving the matches, I scheduled them. So it looked like you're playing a winner. It's supposed to be winner versus loser. They found the error. Isaac fixed it and redid the brackets and got it done correctly, which then if you saw a bracket one time, and then you look again at something else, you're like, oh, what happened? That's what happened. It was my fault. I clicked the wrong button, and I tried to apologize to players.
Well, you're on the right show because you dogged it. Okay.
Did I?
It sounds like you dogged it, but it got fixed.
Wrong button is usually a dog.
Well, and when I saw that Digital Pool was involved, they've sponsored the show before. We know Isaac, and people online talking about how, oh, they must have rigged it, they must have fixed it.
Pool
players
don't even pay attention to that.
Well, pool players are just skeptical by nature, right? They're always thinking that somebody's out to get them, somebody's trying to rip them off. And so that's one of the reasons I want to have you on, just to explain kind of how that came to be and the fact that it was an honest mistake. But my question, I guess, because when Melina and I talked about this earlier, we were trying to understand what happened. And I think him and I weren't even on the same page just with what we read online. So you had 2 winners playing each other and you had 2 losers playing each other initially. And then I think I told Melina, I think they just shuffled those 2 matches. And he said, no, I think they shuffled the whole bracket from there and redid it. Which one occurred?
Unfortunately, I don't know which one occurred because I could not undo anything. Even when I was the director, Isaac had to go through and undo everything that I did because, again, I clicked the wrong button. So he had to undo my mistake. And since I'm now behind from drawing and all that, he went ahead and did the bracket. But I made sure to tell him it's a winner versus a loser the whole way down. And that was done.
Well, it sounds like an honest mistake.
No, for sure. And I think that was something that even from the beginning, whenever I was hearing it, and of course you're going to have these pool is just full of conspiracy theorists, and so
Well,
these guys are out to do this or out to do that or whatever. And I was always under the camp that it seemed like there wasn't anything, going on behind the scenes because there was no agenda. When I started hearing things about Calcutta and all this shit, I'm saying to people, listen, the guy who had the most had two guys at the bottom. So it doesn't make any sense for them to rig the bracket, so to speak,
my
in that way.
My contract with Matchroom, I had to seat, but only the top 60 within the top 64, the main bracket. And I was
From the beginning, though, right?
Yes.
From the start.
Yes, and I showed everyone my contract. If you wanted to look at it, I'll pull it up now and let you see exactly what I had to do. And I asked them, out of the list that they sent me of their ranking list, I said, these are the players in my event. How should I rank it? I went down from Federer was ranked number 5 or 6 at the time. I went down to 380th place on their rankings of a player. Do I rank all these players? What do I do? And I had 21 ranked players in my 64-man field. It was 60. I had 4 buys. So do I seed everybody partially? They said, go ahead and seat the top 8, and I did as such. So they got the seat in the first round, and that was it. Everything else was random from there.
Interesting.
How does that is that something that is done through the digital pool side as far as the randomness? Because then now you're placing players in certain spots through the bracket. So then the remaining players are just shuffled then? Is that how that works?
So I could tell, like, Fedor was the number 1. He was the number 1 seed in my event. So I could put in the system that he gets spot 1 on the bracket, and then whoever's spot 2, spot 3, etc., down to spot 8, they're guaranteed that. And then everything else is shuffled from there. So Fedor will never move from that spot. Everyone else is shuffled.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Curious how the actual, because I was thinking about stopping in. I've been in town, but I didn't get a chance to make it out because I was with my family.
Mm-hmm.
Because you only had 8 tables to work with there. So, what was the timing like each day? How late did you have to go? Were you able to get players out at a decent hour?
Yeah. Being a pool player myself, I played on multiple tours. I traveled a bit up and down the coast. Nowhere near to the level like BJ can do, but I've tried. I've jumped in the water. I'm not afraid to jump in the water. One thing I hated was you finish the match at midnight, 1 a.m. Got to be back at 9 a.m. You're tired. You're done. I don't like that. I hated that. So I tried to do about an hour around. I thought an hour could do it. You think, 7 games, 9 balls, do the math. It's about 50 minutes, but I did not calculate in. It's my fault. Again, I'm learning things. Players taking breaks. I didn't think about it. Safety battles a little bit. Long matches. Things happen. So some matches.
You're saying 7 games though. There were races to 7.
Yes, 13 games though. Race 7-6.
Okay.
13 games. Yeah.
So
and I did not copulate for certain things. Like the entire event, Mike Ortiz and I basically put everything together. It was me, Mike, and Anthony, because again, he has to run the pool room. So I forgot things. It's my fault. I overlooked it. I have notes for next year if it happens to be the same thing again. But we got out. The last match was done around, I think, about 11:30 at the latest. And they, they had to be back at 10 a.m. the next day.
It's not bad.
Play at 11.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
And I finished at about 8 o'clock that night.
I'm curious, when it came to that redraw, how long were those players under the impression they were going to place a different player? Because I was under the understanding that some of them went to bed with one guy in mind, and then they woke up to somebody different.
No one knew because I did not draw Saturday night. I drew Sunday morning. I was there till 2 a.m. because the way first break's laid out, it's literally a horizontal strip of 8 tables, and then the 8th table needed to move into the arena, so I had to move tables and chairs out of the way, and then be back again at 8 a.m. with Integrity Billiards with Scott Emery and Matt Sniper to move that last table into position and then finish the arena out. Then I drew the bracket. That was Sunday morning.
Love Scott Emery, by the way. Solid dude.
And so Tyler Steyer, and when I redrew it, Tyler Steyer and Shane Wolford messaged me directly like, I'm not supposed to play that guy. They were supposed to play each other if they were double elimination in that round. They're like, aren't I supposed to play a loser? So because I messed up the bracket, it sent it that way. And
yeah.
In hindsight, when that whole thing occurred, do you wish that maybe you brought all the players together to kind of explain it to them?
That's another thing I learned. BJ Ussery brought it to me. Again, I learned from everybody. I took advice. Any type of criticism, I took it as advice. BJ Ussery was like, next time, do it when everybody's here. That way, if there is a mistake, they can see, oh, that's a mistake, and then I can get it fixed, and then the problem's solved. And that's what I'm going to do next time is I will wait to do the draw when all players are present. That way you can see what's happening.
I think that's, transparency is so important in all sports, but especially in pool because of the skepticism and the critics and, conspiracy theorists, that it's real easy for guys to kind of go off on that tangent, especially people who weren't there. Right. I'll tell you, I got a lot of messages about it that morning, but, none of them were, every single one of them that I received it was never like it was done with intent. So that was something that, I wanted to convey to you.
4 or 5 years, I ran a tour called DMB Amateur Tour. I made every single thing public on the Facebook page. There was a link there to an Excel spreadsheet you could view. You could see the players, how much they went for in the Calcutta, the total amounts, everything. I was completely transparent with everything. I don't like hiding money. No, I don't like that.
Yeah, one thing that I was really curious about when I heard that there was going to be referees at each table and shot clocks, especially big events. You can go to big events sometimes, and then you get matched up with somebody who plays really slow, and it takes you out of your rhythm, and that's a real buzzkill for a lot of people. And so when I saw that you were going to have shot clocks on each table, I even posted something like, how in the heck are they going to pull that off? And Federer responded and said, referees at each table. How did that work? Tell us how that went.
Yeah, I was real surprised to see that.
Part of that is thanks to my brother, Scott Wilburn. He's refereed with American Pool Players, APA stuff. He's done a lot of that. And he actually refereed the TTMD 10 ball last year under Wayne Everhart. And then I personally have experience refereeing. I refereed Seeming Chen and Donnie Mills when they came up here to play in Sterling. So between us, we had some experience of kind of, how to referee and what to look for and what to do. And then I asked some people, he asked some people, I got some family involved. Literally, my nephew, my niece-in-law were there, another family friend. My first coach was a referee. Like, it was all family and friends coming together saying, yeah, I'll help you out. And they stepped up. We got them coached up, and there it was.
But like the actual logistics of the shot clock, were there was stopwatches and
no, it was their phone. They have Digital Pool has a special access on their phones, and they can reset it from their phones or the tablet that Digital Pool offers you. And it sits up top for the one that goes above the lights that people can see. Thank you, above the lights. And there's another one that's local. The way Digital Pool has it set up, there's two ways. So if there's enough space between the tables, the tablets can actually beep at you when there's 10 seconds left, just like you hear. Yes, but because these tables, as Joey knows, they're pretty close together. You don't want to be on the next table, and the table over there is beeping, and this one beeps, and that one beeps.
And you think it's yours. Yeah.
So I had the referee saying around 12 seconds to 12, 11 seconds, 10 seconds to just say 10 seconds. Let them know. That way it's directly to the players, but they could see the shot clocks through there. There was a bit of delay because the phone has to send a signal and all that other fun stuff. But for the most part, it ran pretty smooth.
Yeah. What were the toughest calls you had to make on the weekend? Like, as a tournament director, I know people come to you and you got to make some tough calls sometimes. Tell us a couple.
There were two big ones that I had to deal with personally. Our player that we know in this area, one of the local pros, Brendan Schuff. I made sure in the players' meeting, my brother made sure of it too. Just like Mike Zuglin, if you've ever played on Turning Stone, call your match. If you're not there, it's 1 game, forfeit. 5 minutes is 2 games, 10's 3, 15, you forfeit. He didn't show up till 18 minutes after his match. He comes to my table. Am I good? No. Forfeited. He wasn't there on time at 10 a.m. And then into the final 16, we're at the top, we're at the final, I don't remember what it is, on the winner's side. It was BJ versus Fedor Gorst. And, of course, I see everything going on, and I saw that Fedor conceded a 9. And in our rules, you concede a 9, you concede a second game as well. So BJ won that game to go from 4-2 to 5-2. Fedor ran out. 4-3, something like that. Fedor ran out, that next game, and I confronted Fedor. I said, hey, just confirming, did you concede a 9 the game prior? He was honest with me. He said, I did. I said, I have to give BJ that second game, and then you win this one, which then put PJ on the hill. So now it's 6-4.
Big difference.
Well, Fedor's a machine. Broken ran the next 2, got up 6-6, and then got a safety battle, missed the bank shot, and BJ won that game.
Was Federer cursing at you in Russian?
No, no, he actually wasn't. In fact, after that, he had a little bit of a wait, probably good, maybe hour and a half, 2 hours till he had to play again for his loser side. He only had to win one more to get to the top 16 at that point. I went to him and I thanked him. I said, dude, I appreciate you being honest with me and not, I know some shiesty players out there. It was on camera. That's why I knew. I saw it. That's a match I wanted to see. So I had it up on my computer. I was watching it and I saw it happen. My ref was right there with it. He was about to do the same thing as let Fedor know, but I already got there before my ref did, so I took over.
Wait, so you waited till after that game where he ran out to let him know? At what point do you sleep it? Because that's a big, if it's not if you don't make a call on the spot, you can't call pass interference after the next after the next down,
But the way the way that as fast as things are moving, my ref is already racking. BJ walked over there, pushed the button. And I told my refs, this is what I told my refs. You're an adjudicator. It's not your job to do any of that stuff. It's their job to keep the score. If they screw up, it's their problem. But I'm still going to push my rules. I'm going to fight for my rules because if you don't have rules, you have chaos. So I had to go back afterwards. And it was only one game, thankfully. And again, Fedor was honest. And he actually told me, thank you for keeping honest. So
he had a lot of good things to say in his post, recapping the event, which is great. And a lot of other players as well, saying what a great job that was done from you guys, especially you as a tournament director. A lot of positive things, the referees, shot clocks, things like that. So, kudos on a job well done. It wasn't without drama, and we appreciate you coming on and facing some of the tough questions. Red can be a bit of a hard ass, so we appreciate you fading them.
Zach Miller, I see your comment there. That means if you miss the 9 ball and you just give the game to your opponent, don't let him shoot it. That's conceding.
Yeah.
You cannot do that.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. And another reason why I bring it up is you paid for the stream. You want to watch pool. Sometimes it's a touchy 9 ball. And like that, BJ could have easily conceded the 9. It wasn't super hard, but it was definitely hard. But he didn't. And Fedor missed.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, before we let you go, anybody you want to shout out or thank for this weekend?
Well, definitely all my sponsors. I made a Facebook post today about it. All the sponsors. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have had the money added. It was a process. No problem, Zach. My referees, I actually lost a ref. I was supposed to have an extra couple refs just to be able to cycle people out so people can eat and get a break off their feet. One of the refs tested positive for COVID. He says, I'm not making it. And then I lost another one. So I only had 8 refs for 8 tables the entire day. They stood there the entire day on their feet.
That's awesome.
So a big shout out to the refs, of course, Anthony and App State Al and Zach Goldsmith and Isaac with Digital Pool. Of course, the players and everything like that who came out, spectators who bought seats. And, it was just, it was a whole team effort thing. Mike Ortiz definitely did a lot of work. He was at big events.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah. Not you, though.
He doesn't know that your real name's Mike Ortiz.
A lot of people don't know that, yeah. But I know Mike. That's my man, Mike. He knows.
He did a lot of stuff too, and of course, I mean, you don't have an event without players. So it's a big shout out to them too for coming in. Lucas was this close to dropping out. He had some eye issues the week of, and I'm messaging him on Tuesday. He's like, I don't know if I can make it. Then I was like, just follow up with me Thursday. Thursday, he's feeling a bit better. I said, tell me tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. He's like, yeah, I think I can come up. And he comes up and second place. Look at this kid.
Yeah, nice. Good for him.
Funny how life works out like that.
Yeah. So will there be another one? You're looking forward to doing this again?
I actually am looking forward to do it again now that I know what it entails and what I can do to make things better, of course. Definitely finding more referees. That's number one. But I'm hoping that Matchroom does allow me to host another one. And honestly, I would like a little bit more time to get things orchestrated because 3 months to raise $10,000 is just absurd. I was constantly on phone calls, meetings, trying to get any amount of money I could. Even 500, $250 here and there, I took it. I mean, it's just like, let's go. But if I can get an extra 3 to 4 months, as I own my own companies as well, I'd submit my budget by the fall. And if I can get approval in like September, that gives me the 3 extra months to be able to get a couple thousand, maybe more, to get everything ready for the following year to prepare. So, a little more help from Action would be nice. They did a lot, but a little bit more would be definitely appreciated. But that's also my fault. I reached out in September, and they're trying to get things done. So hopefully we can get another one. Hopefully.
Good luck.
Well, we look forward to it, and we'll be tuning in and watching as well, Chris. So congratulations on an event well done, and we look forward to seeing you again soon, man. Thanks a lot for coming on as well.
Anytime. Thank you for having me on, and I hope I'll meet you all one day in person.
Sure, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks,
later, brother.
See you.
Well, that was a lot of fun, boys. Joey wasn't too bad, was he, Mike?
Hey, you could have been softer on him.
Who, me?
Let me adjust these
Hold
graphics
on.
here.
I was trying to help you out there.
Yeah, Joey's trying to adjust as I'm
Wait,
trying to adjust.
what do you mean I wasn't too bad? It was my idea. I got him on the show. What are you talking about?
There we are. We're back at it. No, it was that was actually Joey's call this morning, as Joey's messaging me because I was trying to coordinate with getting BJ on, and he was open to it, and we tried for like at least 15 minutes before we had that issue at the beginning to get him on, and we're still going to continue to try this week. But when Joey said I'm gonna reach out to him, I said I think that's a great idea. And kudos to him for coming out, because there was a lot of it's so if I was him, it'd be so easy to get frustrated and annoyed seeing some of the shit that was said online about me and him without knowing the full story and the full circumstances.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Mike? It looked like you wanted to go off for a second, Mike.
No. It was, just hopefully people see the people who just need to be heard, just need to yell, need to be the loudest, need to be, was the fix was in. We need these players reaching the final. It was just stuff that just makes no sense. You certainly can't let that stuff get under your skin. He had a lot of great compliments from, names that I know and respect. That was good enough for me. So.
I think from a mental standpoint, it's tough when you're going into maybe a day and thinking, okay, I'm playing this guy, and then you show up and you're playing someone else, right? But then I think there's also something to be said when it comes to, listen, at the end of the day, if you're gonna make a run, you're gonna have to play the best players at the end, no matter what, So to kind of just put your hard hat on like BJ did, and keep grinding away and just do whatever you can to get the W, right?
Yeah, so a lot of the controversy, hopefully my internet holds up. You guys are real choppy on my end, so I'm assuming it's my internet. But, a lot of the controversy, there's a guy here named Pookie. He runs The Real Deal, Q Exchange, buys and sells Qs and stuff. And, he's a solid dude, good player. I've known him for a long time. And he made the final 16, which for somebody who doesn't play anymore is pretty impressive. And so I saw that he originally posted about the bracket screw up. And then, after hearing some feedback on that, he then posts about the fact that it was a memorial tournament and there wasn't much said about Bob Stocks. And I think out of the two issues, the first one was a mistake, and Chris talked about that and kind of maybe what they would do next time different. And Isaac also addressed it with Digital Pool. But then the second issue about the memorial, we asked Chris directly about that as well. And I think, he just didn't know Bob. Maybe he could have, found somebody who did, maybe somebody like Pookie, to say something about Bob. I know he used to put Brandon and Pookie in action all the time and stuff. So it would have been a nice gesture to have one of those guys kind of, chime in on behalf of Bob Stocks. But, people jump on that. The issue isn't Pookie's post. The issue is the comments underneath of that. Because the assumptions that are made about, they're rigging the tournament and they're trying to do this and it just drives me crazy. Because some of that occurs, even to this day, some of that occurs, but it doesn't occur every time. Can somebody get the benefit of the doubt one time in pool? It's like,
no. No. Not when it comes to social media. Because social media is react first, and then we'll find out facts later. It's usually how it works out when it comes to some of these comments I see.
Yeah, Mike,
it's unfortunate.
You and I have talked about hosting a tournament one day. I think that'd be really fun. Until I see stories like this.
Oh, after seeing this, sign me up, boys. Yeah, sign me up after seeing some of this shit. No, one thing that I gotten from Chris leading up to it, because I'd asked him for some information in the week leading up to it, and he was more than helpful and responsive. But it was the feedback about the guy was, that he was trying to do all that he can for pool, and that's where he comes from. And that was one thing that whenever you said, let's bring him on, I said, yeah, absolutely. Because there's always, three sides to every story, right? Your side, my side, and then the truth, right? I feel like, it takes a special kind of person to come out and get in front of it like you did, here. And it was just an honest mistake, and he owned up to it and lived up to it. Unfortunate, nevertheless, for some of these guys. But either way, like I said, you still got to go out there and compete.
I hope Steve Woodward's kidding.
His next comment is laughing my ass off, so I'm pretty sure he's.
Yeah. So, what was your guys' takeaway from the event overall, Mike?
It was nice to have. I think it gained more attention and more traction because it was a ranking event. So, that part in itself is starting to show how you can see how this can start to build momentum, between the players and the people running events more professionally and everybody watching it and paying attention more and all this stuff. It's not the first Bob Stocks Memorial, is it?
No, I've played in it before. Yeah.
So
no, it's been around for years,
more than a decade.
Yeah, more than a decade.
Okay. It's the first time everybody's talked about it this much, right?
That's the thing. That's kind of the point that I was going to make is, despite the fact that, people feel slighted and like, Bob Stocks wasn't talked about too much during the tournament. We've all said Bob Stocks now 200 times, before and after this tournament because of the quality of the field. And, and I think Chris is right. He talks about this is the highest quality field ever in DC. I think that might be true. I look back when I first started going to Planet Pool Tours, you had Parika, you had McCready, you had top regional talent, Mike Davis, Brandon Schaub, you had good players, Dennis Hatch, things like that. But, in terms of top to bottom in a 64 player field, it doesn't get too much better than what we saw this weekend, here for an American event that's going up against a Matchroom event I know it's in the Maldives in the Indian Ocean, but still. And
that's not a Matchroom event, buddy.
What?
But good job.
What do you mean?
It's not a Matchroom.
Not a Matchroom event.
They pulled out of that?
It's not a Matchroom event.
It was supposed to be originally.
And
yeah.
It's kind of it's sensitive, and you just brought it up. So good job.
Well, let's talk about it. Why is it not a Matchroom event?
Mike?
Well,
they dumped the Maldives for Bob Stocks. Is that what happened?
The Maldives, it looks like a pretty good event. And you talk about conceding balls. I was watching John Moore play today, and he had
every single shot he's calling. Every single shot. I think that's part of the rules is you have to call every single shot.
In the Maldives.
And it's the 10 ball, which Matchroom can't count the 10. So, there's that.
I see.
Okay. It looks like a beautiful place.
Hey, by the way, yes to Crypto wants to know.
How do you get a tournament on this island in the middle of the Indian Ocean?
I don't know.
I mean, it was just it's cool, I guess, but I was like, really, that's weird.
It couldn't have been easy to get to. It had to be very expensive to get there, I would think. Hey, yes to Crypto wants to know my best finish at the Bob Stocks. Mike, you want me to tell
Joey's always willing to tell you about his finishes.
Let's talk about the Super Billiard Expo while we're at it.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna. Please, Joe. I'm ready.
Hey,
I'm ready.
You asked Pinozzo about his thoughts on this tournament. I'm gonna give you my thoughts. I love seeing it because my heart is here in the DC area. I don't live here anymore, but for a long time,
it was meant for both of y'all.
Ever since Planet Pool left. The area has had a lot of promoters, it's had a lot of things going on, but nothing really big like this. And so when I heard about it and I saw it, I was really hopeful, and it sounds like it was a great event. And the fact that you had some local players like Pookie make the final 16, you had upsets like Max Eberly losing to a young lady, 542 Fargo, BJ Ussery from North Carolina, who comes up here all the
Put
time.
a name on that number, Joe. Persea Kings, does she deserve some respect too? It's not
No
just a 542 Fargo. She's a great up and coming junior player.
No disrespect intended, sir.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know. I just wanted to fire at you. That's all, Joe.
got it. Okay. And BJ, who's made the trip up I-95 probably 1,000 times to play in events from all the way to New York down to Florida, and he snaps off probably, I would say, the biggest win in his career. And so now he's put his name in the running for Mosconi Cup. Now, a lot to do from here, but his name is going to be mentioned now. And with the grit that he showed in that event, coming from behind in so many matches, I really think Jeremy has to take notice and at least consider him.
Well, without a doubt, he's on the radar, if nothing else, now going forward, right? Because he's going to be numbers-wise in the conversation no matter what. Now, what he does with it is going to be completely up to him, right? Just from an effort standpoint, whether he is physically attending any more events. We'll talk more with BJ and get some of his story as to maybe why he doesn't or what his plans are. But a great event, and a solid area. I've been there a few times, and everyone out there in the DMV is always, showed me a lot of love, and I always love. And I've been out to that room a couple of times as well. So you're always going to have hiccups when it comes to these things, and unfortunately, because of the spotlight that's placed on a matchroom ranking event, anytime you have issues come up, there's going to be a lot of opinions one way or the other. The one thing that I love about what we do is being able to get these guys on and talk with them directly, go straight to the horse's mouth if they want. And give them a chance and a platform to kind of tell their side of the story versus all the bullshit that you'll see online.
Windows open.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be the first time.
We're asking Chris questions about all the controversy, and at no time did we point out the fact that most of the controversy came from the Windows Open page.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, I would just put it out there, and then you're always going to get a flood of comments. I can't tell everyone to shut the hell up, right? Let them have their opinions, and then we'll come on here and we'll have, a reaction to it and get to the bottom of it afterwards. But as long as it's, as long as it's not personal or disrespectful, I kind of let it, things go as they will on there. If it gets personal or disrespectful to someone, that's usually whenever I put a stop to it. So, but what's that one?
Delete.
Well, no, mostly just block, if nothing else. It kills two birds with one stone.
First time I had to block somebody, I had to talk to Melina Mike about it, and he's like, "Why are you so worried? I block people like it's this."
Fucking like I'm Oprah, son. No, but there is a great event going on in the Maldives, like Joey brought up, which is not a matchroom ranking event, but it is stacked full of players. It's like who's who of top talent, from the Cole brothers to Carlo, Chua,
Filler,
Victor, Filler, Chang Jun Lin, you name it. I mean, it's just stacked. The coverage of it has been pretty decent. I've been seeing a lot of feeds on Facebook and on their YouTube. Slowly but surely, as the events progressed, I've been seeing more updates as far as brackets and live scorekeeping, along with the progression. So I don't know what anybody wins. I'm sure it's some money and it's gonna be pretty decent. But just from a talent standpoint, boy oh boy, is it top shelf, man, to say the least.
Hey, is that Shane Dennis match still going on, or is that over?
I think they got one more day.
And they're playing 10 ball with the mandatory push after the break, right?
Push or safety, I think, after the break. You cannot break and run.
That's awesome. I like that rule.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I like it too. I like the moving game, so I can certainly appreciate that. It's a lot more competitive, and I think the score reflects it. With Dennis having the advantage, because Dennis is always going to be the one to more outmove Shane. Personally, I love seeing Dennis compete against top talent. It's great to watch him and Shane play. I've watched them play many times out there at that same room where this event was just happening at. Was my first time watching them play their big set of 10 ball, dubbed as the match of the century, which was just, a pounding by Shane. And then I've seen them play, 9 ball in Oklahoma on that epic comeback by Dennis. Dennis is a monster. I love watching him play pool no matter what. So seeing him out there play Shane is pretty special for me. It looks like from some of the things that I've seen online, Dennis being more active on social media, that there's more of a spark back to Dennis, which is great as well, because I know for a while Dennis was not in a good place because of everything that was going on. So I'm double excited and optimistic for that as well, because Dennis is probably a top 5 player, or at least before he wasn't allowed back in, he was a top 5 player. Some would say maybe even number 1 a couple of years ago. I'm excited to see Federer go over there and challenge him as well. And I believe it's probably going to be close to that same format that he's playing Shane, because Federer mentioned one of the matches was a 10-ball with a push shot after the break. And I'm guessing it's going to be against Dennis. And if it is, I'm really excited to see that as well, because Federer is Federer and Dennis is Dennis. So,
yeah, this stay in the Philippines for Dennis might turn out to be, something that all the other players hate. He might come back eventually and be even higher speed, So, well, Mike, I got to get out of here, man. I'm going to go find a pool hall in Northern Virginia to play some pool.
Wow.
Yep. All right. Well, Mike, I appreciate you coming on and saving the day, since Joey's internet was a little shady, to say the least.
I see it's starting to go under, man.
Dude, I was drowning, my man. I was drowning. Look, here's the thing. First, it was like BJ having issues. Then Joey just freezes up as I'm talking for 90 seconds. Then I'm like, what in the hell is going on over here? So I appreciate you coming on and saving my ass. It's been a lot of fun. This was a great event. A lot more stuff to talk about in pool, you guys. Keep the notifications on. And we'll be back in a couple of days, I'm sure.
Oh, don't forget, if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/doggin it. We'd love to have you. We put content out on there that's exclusive, so check it out.